Okay, guys, as you might have seen in a prior video, and I encourage you to watch it if you haven't, Ralph Karsten was on my channel, and he was actually in the room at Expona with Popori. He had to go home sick early, but his atmosphere amps were there, the Class D ones. And in that prior video I released, talked about why he pivoted to Class D. Must watch from true experts that are on that Zoom, why he pivoted to Class D and why tube amps may be on borrowed time for many people. But on top of that, he shared his thoughts on the Popori speakers. He was very anxious to hear them based on the specs and the anecdotal reports, but he got to hear them firsthand with his amps, and you're going to get in this video his unadulterated, honest feedback on them. And I think this is very valuable because it's one thing to hear from me. It's one thing to hear from customers. That's all part of the equation. It's one thing to hear for yourself in show conditions where it's still limited. Here's an expert that's heard it all and understands also why these speakers are so good is because they mate with so many amps well, make everything sound better if your amps aren't being taxed to the limit. But I'm going to let Ralph say it best. Enjoy this video. Plenty more to come. I wanted to go to Mike Sweck first in terms of the Potpourri room. We talked about the amps. And in fact, I think you left early, but you were sharing your thoughts on the Potpourris. This was your first time hearing them. What were your thoughts, Ralph?
Well, I got to tell you, I've been eager to hear them for a long time since I first started hearing about them from Mike. My impression of the speakers is it's damned impressive. They're on paper, it's rated at 91 dB, which is impressive for an electrostatic or any kind of panel speaker for that matter. But, if you know panel speakers, you have to get back about 10 feet to really realize the full sound pressure of the speaker. If you place a microphone a meter from it, most of the sound pressure of the speaker is not going to be picked up over the mic. So you basically, in round numbers, you add 6 decibels to whatever the 1 meter rating is. So that puts it at 97 dB. The speaker is extremely easy to drive, and that's delightful because I'm so used to having to deal with electrostatic customers that really need some power. And a lot of the traditional electrostats, the solid state amps can't make a lot of power on them because of the impedance in the bass region. A quad might be 45 ohms or something. A SoundLab is 30 ohms. So the Popori speaker has a much easier impedance curve to deal with. So it's friendly to tubes and solid state. As far as the speaker itself, it seemed to me like a really narrow diaphragm was being very honest down to 35 cycles. It was it was fast, it was relaxed. It's everything you want in a speaker. They were just lovely. So I'm very impressed with them, and I just wonder how the heck their state-of-the-art speaker, their top of the line, they're rated at 96. And I just find that kind of efficiency, when you get into that level of efficiency, what happens with the amplifier is that it's loafing. And, I don't care what kind of amp you have, the amp should not work hard for a living. The harder you make the amp work, the more distortion it's going to make. And, you think, well, the increase in distortion from, say, 8 ohms down to 4 ohms is insignificant. It's not. And the reason is because the ear uses higher ordered harmonics in order to sense how loud sounds are. If you increase higher ordered harmonics, your ear will react to that, and you'll have a false sense of volume. So it's always a good idea to keep the amplifier working as, just have as mellow walk in the park, sitting on the park bench type of job. For a living, you don't want to work it hard. And that's the key to getting the best sound that you possibly can out of any system. And the Popori is all about that. And electrostatics are so fast because unlike a dynamic driver where you when you put current through the voice coil, the magnetic field is going to sag slightly. And an electrostatic speaker has got a powered field. And so that means that the diaphragm is going to move more closely to the energy that the amplifier is producing, meaning it's going to be more dynamic. So, you know, audiophiles often talk a lot about the word dynamics. And, I found in most of that conversation, they're really talking about distortion. So if you can get real dynamic impact and have the amplifier being relaxed, making the least amount of distortion it possibly can, you're simply going to have a more transparent system because distortion always obscures uh, detail. So the more transparency you can winnow out of this stuff, the better. And the Popori has got to be one of the more transparent speakers I've heard. It's really damned impressive.
Yeah, and I think Mike has some testimonials to that effect, people that said that exact thing, but you're explaining why, which is why you're such a value to the hobby, your knowledge and experience. So yeah, I thank you for that.